Welcome to the Ordinary People Do Extraordinary Things podcast. I'm your host, Michael Esguerra, and today we've got a very special guest. His name is Matt Corlett, and just an absolute wonderful guy. He's one of my mentors. I'll do a more formal introduction once we get him on here, but I'm really excited for this conversation. This is episode 12, if you could believe it. Welcome. I'm just pinging Matt in here, and we're going to get this started real soon here. So let me just ring his name. Awesome. There he is. Joining us soon. I'm very excited. Welcome. Thanks for joining. This is going to be a great conversation. I'm so excited. You know, I've done some lives with Matt before. There he is. What's up, Matt? Let me bring you on stage here. Let's see. Bring on stage. Wait. Welcome. Oh, there you are.
Hey, oh, I should have had a Christmas sweater. I don't even have a sweater.
Oh, hey, it's all good. It's not really an ugly one because it's chili peppers, but it's fancy to me.
Oh, I'm envious all of a sudden. I wonder if I've just got some. I've got like a cheetah sweater. It's my wife's. That might look pretty cute in that.
Throw it on. Why not? Right? I
Oh
love
wow.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. You know, I figured, you know, this is the last podcast episode I'm going to do for the year, and I figured, hey, you know, get into the season of it.
I love it.
Hmm. Well, you know what? I'm going to do an official introduction, and then let's get started with the conversation here. How's
Sounds
it?
good.
Awesome. Welcome, everyone. This is the Ordinary People Do Extraordinary Things podcast. I'm your host, Michael Esguerra. I'm the founder of MB Learning, and today we've got a very special guest. His name is Matt Corlett. He is a Tony Robbins Certified Coach, NLP Practitioner, Reiki Master, just a overall groovy guy. He's one of my mentors, and just absolutely adore you, Matt. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you. You know how much I love you, and I'm always so appreciative of you and your energy and your commitment to helping people grow, you know, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And I really feel honored. I just feel honored that I have, you know, maybe some people can like associate with this or can relate to this. Just that when someone compliments you, sometimes you feel really humbled by it, you know, because uh, all of us, I think to some degree, for the most part, do have kind of an inner feeling that something's wrong, you know. And so when you receive compliments, sometimes it's a really wonderful you know, opportunity just to feel it. And I love that. So thank you, Michael. And I also learned how you pronounce your last name. Because in my mind, I don't pronounce it the same way.
You know what? It's funny because not a lot of people do. And to be honest with you, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. So,
Oh, well, there we go. I love it.
oh, it's absolutely awesome. Well, thank you for the kind words. You know, I adore you as well and appreciate you. What's up? And you know, you too, like you're spreading positivity and light everywhere you go. And, you know, I'm curious to know because, you know, we've had not casual conversations, but like more open and organic conversations. But, you know, I don't know if we've really like dug into your story, and I would love to learn more about you. Like, you know, you're obviously accomplished. You have a lot of certifications and whatnot, but like what led you down this path of spreading, you know, positivity and light?
Sure. Well, I think that well, there's so sorry, just so many tangents came in, right? So let me go with one vibrational frequency tangent, which is, you know, I had always felt within me something just more than what my senses were providing. That I just didn't seem like I remember being really little even. And I was diagnosed with, you know, an illness at that time, which was life threatening. And it still is. But, you know, it's been 40 years and I haven't died yet. So I figure I'm safe. There's a funny story to that. But the, I think that sort of encouraged me or opened the opportunity for me to consider the nature of life a little differently than maybe most, or not most, but many 7-year-olds. And I'm not saying I'm special or unique. It's just, and I know other people that didn't have that and have the same thing as me, but it did kind of lead me internally to look at things and wonder and question and be curious and just sense and feel more. And I think that really, at a young age, encouraged me um, just to start noticing and to again feel and sense and how and just kind of develop a sense of intuition. It's hard to say for sure, right? Like, if I really want to be honest, it's so much beyond this lifetime. There's just so much more at play than what me, Matt, can really say. But regardless, here I am. So,
Do you, sorry to interrupt, but do you feel comfortable sharing what that experience was when you were 7 years old?
diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. So I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. My parents were splitting up. There was emotional kind of turmoil, right? And I got an autoimmune disease that at that time, no one knew what diabetes was. You know, that was like, I mean, doctors knew and a few people knew, but it wasn't the epidemic of type 2 diabetes that you see these days. So it was really, I thought I was dead. You know, when I got home from the hospital, I thought I would die. I'd go to bed every night saying my prayers and praying to God that my family would be okay, because I'm not going to wake up in the morning. So, and it was the now I can laugh, right? But you know, the thing I was saying is like, oh, I'm gonna be dead, you know, and I'd be crying and I'd be so sad and feel really scared, and then I'd wake up in the morning. And so, as it turns out, I keep on waking up in the morning.
Well, it's funny you can laugh about that now, but
Yeah,
imagine telling yourself that story when you're 7 years old.
you're seven is a different story, right? And um, the I don't know why my phone keeps on doing that. The uh, Yeah, it is different. It is different. And the interesting thing too is that I took total responsibility for it right out of the gate. My mom never gave me an injection. You know, no one ever treated me. I did it all myself from a very, very, very young age. This is a side topic, but my wife is an educational assistant. I'm really surprised at the level of not arrogance or ignorance, but the level of ignorance, I don't mean in a judgmental way, that a lot of kids with type 1 have right now. They don't know how to treat themselves. So they're waiting for an EA to tell them what to do. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't have an EA. I was in public school. My teacher had no idea what to do. You know, I was up to me. And I think that level of empowerment of knowing that you're in control of your life is a really powerful thing. So anyway, to come back to that. So I think that was one of the experiences I had, but I had many other experiences too, right? And so I think partly what happened is when I was little, I was looking at my parents, and parents, if you're watching, I'm sorry, I don't mean to throw you under the bus. I really don't. And it's not about that. But I just felt the misery, the emotional and mental confusion and agony that they had. And it frustrated me. I wanted to help them. I could feel it. And I felt like I knew I had a way to help them, but I didn't have the fucking words. And you can all appreciate this. Like, sometimes an adult will go to talk to you as a kid, and you'd be busting with enthusiasm. You have something to share. You know you want to express this, and you're like, why do I suck? And that sounds terrible, but I was so frustrated with myself that I couldn't communicate what I felt and knew. And I think that was in part also what got me so interested in, you know, trying to understand myself or other people, trying to understand emotional situations. And it's not like I was like, you know, separating myself and always in observer mode and like, give me a fucking break. I was right in it, suffering and going through all the trauma and drama and all the kind of shit that everyone else was. But that never really left me. And in my early 20s, I had sort of a crisis with my diabetes and with love again. You know, there you go. And in that situation, I was just kind of at the end of my rope. I really felt lost. And I just want to say, if like anyone watching this, if any of your crowd are like feeling that way, it's actually a really wonderful place to be, because it means that all the paradigms, all the things that you think are true and real, all those things aren't fucking working for you right now. And that's probably good. And it's probably part of the growth that you need to go through. And lucky you that you get to do it without dying. So I was walking along the street and I saw this weird store, right, with crystals hanging and stuff like that. I had hippie friends, but I wasn't really a hippie. I was playing like, you know, really weird alternative punk rock. I was performing live. I was a sound engineer apprentice. I was very cynical. I thought, you know, I was cynical. I tried to be cynical, but really I wasn't a cynical person at the heart of it. And I walked into the store and I was like, "Can you cure my diabetes?" And a woman with an Australian accent was there, and she's like, "Well, I don't know, maybe." And she became my Reiki Master, and I'm still connected with her to this day. She is a very powerful healer, and I've never received Reiki from anybody that has the intense power that she has with Reiki energy. We hit a point in my healing with her where she introduced me to a mentor of hers, and his name is John, and I'm also connected with him still. And sorry, I forgot to put my phone in do not disturb, so I'm getting all these alerts. It's irritating. Anyway, I met him, and the two of them saved my life. And I'm not being dramatic. I really am not. I think that if I hadn't, now of course I sought, and then they opened opportunities, and I made a choice. But if I hadn't had met them and that opportunity wouldn't have been there for me, I don't think I would have lived. I think that I would have taken my own life indirectly. You know, that something I would have made choices that went a different way. So the lovely part of that too is that I was awoken to abilities, talents, whatever you want to call them, that were sort of there. And that really changed my life in a big way. Now, I didn't go into the healing arts right away. I was doing massage and Reiki, and this is like, you know, in the days of making posters and putting them at like the Nom, a kind of hippie restaurant in Vancouver, or putting posts here and there and getting referrals. But I ended up, you know, after studying and traveling a little bit, helping out with my family's business one year, and then I just joined the business. I became like a business person, and for 20 years I've been a business person. But that spiritual part and my deep concern for people and wanting to understand people never left, and I was studying and reading and always improving myself that way. And a couple of years ago, there I was feeling again kind of lost. And it's a wonderful place to be. I know it's not comfortable. I know it doesn't feel great. But the truth is that in that moment, you know, all the ways that I was thinking and perceiving, not all the ways, but specific ways I was thinking and perceiving, just weren't paying off in the way that they used to. And I wasn't believing the stories that I was telling myself anymore. And I really felt like I needed a change. And I was at the Grant Cardone Growth Conference. I was with a friend that I invited, a wonderful man who's in my mastermind, weekly mastermind. And, you know, I said, I just feel like this business is like a lead coat around me, and I got to put on this lead coat every spring, and I'm done, dude. I'm finished. And we're watching this guy named Pete Vargas, who people might know. He's a speaker trainer. Basically, he trains you how to work stages. And he had a program called Stages, and it was the only thing Grant Cardone was selling on stage that year. It was like, he had like John Travolta was there and all sorts of people. It was fantastic. It was a very amazing conference, amazing. And COVID hit. And so that allowed me the opportunity to take a big step back and allow the people that work under me in the bigger business to raise their standards and do more work, and for me to pursue what I really wanted to do, which is to help people in a more meaningful way directly instead of indirectly, instead of helping that customer that has, like, You know, when a customer has a complaint about something, it's rarely about what they're complaining about. And, you know, when we get a serious complaint, I'd be like running to the complaint. I can't wait. You know, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to discover something and help this person see something in a brand new way that's going to remarkably change things. So, long story short, I started studying under Tony Robbins. I got certified as a coach with Tony. I wanted to take NLP because I felt that there was a chance that maybe working with the subconscious mind more directly. Actually, in most coaching, you end up working with the subconscious mind in some way, even if you're aware of it or not.
Yeah.
You know, there's things that we learned under Tony, who obviously was very versed in NLP, and he calls his, I think, NAC. But it's just it's a different kind of process. You're doing it without calling it that. And I think that working with the subconscious is a very important thing to be able to do. And the other aspect of that, that I just want to say quickly is, you know, I was working with a client yesterday, and they were like, oh, I'm listening to all these subliminals. You know, I've got all this stuff going on. I'm really trying to reprogram the way I think. I'm trying to, I got to reprogram. I got to do this. I got to do this. And it was interesting what came out. Maybe I can help express this a little bit differently after. But what came out is actually more love for the subconscious, not less. It's almost like, you know, sometimes we have affirmations or whatever, and we're like, I've got to change this part of myself. I've got to change this part of myself. But we have no idea what that part of ourselves actually does for us or has done for us. And actually the belief that is behind that behavior is very, very profound. And so if you're busy getting your sutures and your surgical knife out because you're going to cut this thing out of you, good luck. If you don't have any understanding or love toward.
Oh, I don't know if shoot. Yeah, you cut out for like the last maybe 10 seconds or so. Oh, I am not able to hear you. Maybe let me know in the chat if you can hear Matt. Let us know if you can. Oh, you're back? Okay, there you're.
Sorry, I had
Hi.
my notifications off. So okay. The interesting thing was once, and I did a post, you know, on Facebook after, because I was so moved by the profound nature of this realization that actually if you provide a space of love with no judgment, if you provide a space of love that I mean like acceptance, curiosity, interest, support, safety, and you imagine your subconscious mind stepping into that space that you've created. And this is sort of like NLP, right? So you have how I imagine the subconscious mind might be different from how you imagine the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is kind of like, honestly, it's kind of a metaphor, you know, for something else. So it's a way for us to put a name to something and label something and give it some parameters. But you create this space and you invite the subconscious mind to step in and you just flood it with love. And it will show you everything about itself. When you're not like a wild animal, you know, forced against a wall and there's a hot poker being pointed at you and that hits you every once in a while, you know, then you're more forthcoming. When there's trust built between you and that part of yourself, even the parts that you're not proud of, you know, then the opportunity for understanding can really come on. And understanding is profound. I don't think a lot of people understand, pardon the pun, that how profound understanding really is. You know, that just bringing your attention to something to really try and understand all the parts of it, or to understand what it's trying to tell you, or what it has to say, or what it has to share. And then for you to be able to understand and feel the beauty of it, to feel the full love of it, then you can start to make different choices because you've heard what it has to say, instead of just, no, I'm changing, fuck you, I hate you, fuck you, I'm going, I'm never going to do that again, and then you're doing it again, right? I hope that I know I'm being a bit abstract. So, you know, how did I get into this? Well, honestly, it started with a Facebook post. My first client knew me as a business person. They hired me as a business consultant. It turned into personal coaching right away, like within 2 sessions. It moved from business to personal, and it ended up being more relationship coaching, even though it was just that one client and not the partner as well. It's always an inside job. There's so much on the perceptual side, where we think we're seeing reality, but actually what we're seeing often, sometimes we're not even seeing anything. All we're perceiving is a past injury, a past trauma, and we're perceiving it again in a new form, so that, and this could be true, so that we can indulge in those emotions again, because we're powerfully identified as a somebody through those emotions. There's kind of an addiction there. And I don't mean a bad addiction or a good addiction. It's just an addiction. Mm-hmm. So who would I be if I didn't feel X about Y person? You know, who would I be? And even if it's a miserable situation, like who would I be if I wasn't fucking angry about, you know, my son playing too much video games? That's a really kind of like lame example. Maybe something like, if I didn't feel angry about my son playing video games, what might I feel? You know, you can transform a situation just by asking a question like that. Once you start to realize that the emotional response, that person makes me angry. No, they don't. I mean, I agree. I say that all the time, or that person makes me, or that person makes me, or this situation makes me, or that situation makes me. But it's not really true. I don't believe that's true. I believe that it's more true that I'm having this emotional response in this situation, maybe even choosing that emotional response in that situation. And maybe I'm doing it not so consciously, but because I'm meeting certain needs by choosing that emotional response. Or maybe it's more innocent than that even. Just that emotional response is so programmed in me, I don't even know, I can't help myself. It's like a compulsion. I'm compelled to be angry. And then, but I don't know it, a whole bunch of needs are met by me being in that emotional state. And one of those needs might be the need for...
Oh, you're cutting out again there, Matt.
Sorry, well, I have one son homesick from school, and I think my other son's calling to say the same thing.
Oh,
so just if I get interrupted, I'll just be a couple minutes. But the you know, to again, so even if I don't know it, every behavior that I do is meeting needs. Every single one. There's no behavior that doesn't have your higher intent. You're smoking weed too much. Well, there's a higher intent behind that. It's meeting needs. I'm not saying it's the best way to meet those needs, but it is meeting needs. And I mean, that's kind of like one tool. But the, I can't remember how I got on this, but the point I'm making there, I guess, is that it's really wonderful when you take the time, and there's no better work to be doing, God, there's just no better work to be doing than to build understanding around you. Because guess what? The whole fucking world doesn't exist without you. And that will sound insane. How do you fight depression? It's a really good question. I'll circle around. I don't know your name, but Vuk191, T91. So I mean, how big is that question? How do you fight depression, right? Well, I've got lots of things for you. Honestly, holy smokes.
Well, let's come back to that towards the end there. Yeah. But I wanted to ask, because you said something around like you did some Reiki healing,
yeah,
and then all of a sudden you were awakened to like talents and gifts.
Yeah. So yeah, I experienced things that I always knew existed and that I always wanted to experience, like things like people channeling. My mentor was dead fucking psychic. Like at the time I was vegan. I didn't really want to be vegan. I just thought that was the right thing to do. And I'm not saying anything bad about veganism, by the way, not at all. But my body was suffering. I had a whole bunch of ideas and thoughts around masculinity that weren't very loving. And I was in really rough shape, but he knew things he shouldn't know. Like, he'd be like, "Oh, you've got a book in your closet under a jacket that you've sort of thrown in the corner. Yeah, under that book is a tape that you made a long time ago. And your guides are saying it'd be good for you to listen to that tape again." Like that. Never been to my house, doesn't know the jacket, nothing, right? So I'd be like, oh my God, right? He was really profoundly psychic. So, and he had an ability to talk to guides, to people that weren't there. And I had that ability too, but I didn't know how to listen. I hadn't been trained. So when I did a mentorship with him, he's not Hopi, but he had like a part of his training in the past was through the Hopi elders, and he really connected with their vibe. So he asked me to write a letter, where I wrote a letter to him about the terms of our mentorship, right? That I would see him weekly, I would learn this from him, I would always trust what he had to say, and I would always do what he said, and that would never come to harm to me. And all things were in the highest intention, and all this wonderful stuff. And I mean, wow, I'd never experienced unconditional love until I met him. That's not entirely true, but I hadn't experienced unconditional love from someone that wasn't like a grandma. And it was so weird to me when I first met him. I didn't trust it. I was like, who's this guy? Is he just used car salesman or something? There's that aspect of it. So when I started experiencing these things that are outside of logic, outside of the analytical mind, and I know from listening to Joe Dispenza and other great thinkers that you can use the analytical mind to describe it, but you start to shake the foundations of what you perceive as real, and that's wonderful, because then what you perceive as possible also starts to change, and you become less convinced that you know everything. And maybe the kind of other steps that start to happen after that is you realize how little you trust. Well, if I don't know what's happening, if I can't control what's happening, if I can't describe what's happening, if I can't line it up and line it down and mark it up and mark it down and know all the steps along the way, and it makes absolute sense. It makes absolute sense, as if that's the criteria, right? That my logical mind, which is extremely fucking limited, has to make sense to my logical mind before I can trust it. So I really started to, sense and feel these whole other aspects of my inner being, of things I know without knowing how I know them, of things I could feel and sense without having to know. And I'm not pissing on the analytical mind or the logical mind. I think it's an important and powerful and beautiful and wonderful tool, but it's been overtasked, especially in regards, and not for everybody, but especially in regards for us that go, well, it has to make sense. I have to be able to control. And just I want to introduce a subtlety here, Michael. I know I'm kind of all over the place, but this is me normally anyway, right? So you're used to it. But just imagine this thought. How many people right now, put up your hand, all three of you, put up your hand, that if you've ever said, if that person tells me this, then I will feel good. If that person pats me on the back, then I'll know finally that I'm being a good boy or a good girl. If I can buy that house, then I'll be happy. If I can get that romantic partner, then I'll be happy. If I can have a one-night stand with that person, then I'll be happy. So there's all the, like, if the external circumstance can align with what I think it should be, then at last I'll achieve a state of being. So what I'm trying to say in that, to kind of bring it around, is that that is the conscious mind trying to control everything. Because if you're state of being, your well-being, your feeling of goodness is entirely dependent on external circumstances lining up a certain way, then guess what? Your mind's going to be, how can I get that to happen? 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 I don't know how to get that to happen. I can never get that to happen. And then guess what? You feel hopeless, helpless, and depressed. You feel like you've got no opportunities, right? And you go into a state of peril. I can't get it to happen. Then you might start self-medicating, right? Or you start, to overcome the feeling of insignificance, you go for significance in a big way. You go assassinate a politician. You cut people down behind their back, right? So the logical mind has been given a task of, I got to control fucking everything in order for me to be okay. And I think that that is a very hard thing to live by. So as my my perceptions were expanded through experiences too, not just like me talking right now. Like we did a guided meditation last time. I hope the people that were there really enjoyed the experience of it. But when you change your state, when you have an experience of something different, there's no denying it. There's no going back. It takes a very stubborn paradigm to experience something so outside the paradigm, so beautiful, so wonderful, so amazing, that you had a state change without anything in your environment changing. It's so amazing to have that experience. You can't deny it after you've had it. So in those experiences, I think the thing that happens as people grow in their spiritual awakening, and I'm using that term very loosely, like I just kind of mean feeling and sensing beauty, expanse, wonder beyond what you thought was possible, beyond all the rules and vehicles that you had for those things, and to feel them first, and to feel a sense of awe, mystery. Oh my God, how did he know that tape was in the bottom? Is he tricking me? Just even that, where the questions start to come, and all of a sudden possibilities open, and there's all sorts of cascades of beautiful emotions, like forgiveness, like forgiving yourself for blocking so much opportunity for love to flow to you. Forgiving yourself for believing that you had to have all those rules. I've had clients that wouldn't allow themselves to express love until they had achieved a certain income. They didn't see that. But once they saw it, they're like, oh my God. That their level of perfectionism was so high that they never valued the contribution that they made, because it was never good enough. Or even that their whole push, because many of us healers and workers in this field, Michael, you included, I'm going to guarantee, like, there's a way of analyzing things through what's called the 6 human needs. It comes originally from Erickson. There's a long line of human needs assessments, but Tony teaches this one very well. And growth and contribution are like the higher needs, even though there's no hierarchy in this thing. But most people in the healing, coaching kind of world, we really want to make a contribution, and we really love the feeling of growth in ourselves and in others. And what I learned recently through my own study of myself, and this is what I'm saying, studying yourself, building awareness around yourself, asking for fucking help to do it, because like Einstein said, you can't solve a problem from inside the system that created the problem. You got to be able to step outside of the system. This is why I'm saying, if you feel lost, fuck yes. If you're confused, awesome. Awesome. It means that the systems that have been you've been creating your life, from your self-image to your model of the world to all the things you believe absolutely true or necessary or whatever, that all these are being challenged because growth is upon you, motherfucker. That's it. And so here you are. Now is your chance to crack open and get some new vibe, get some new understanding. Here's some new perspectives. So to bring back to that feeling of forgiveness, right? Like when you're having these changes, all of a sudden you realize that you can forgive. And by forgive, I don't mean like, oh, it's okay, you didn't mean to do it. I don't mean like that. That's not really forgiveness to me. And and by forgiveness, I mean that letting go of the moral responsibility that someone else has towards their mistake. That's not even yours to forgive. That's karmic. That's like there's causes and effects. You can't take the responsibility away from them. But what I mean by forgiveness is more in a Neville Goddard's kind of way, which is, oh wow, there's a greater me, there's a greater them, there's a greater being, and I'm going to see the greatness in them, and I'm going to hold them in that way in my mind because I know it's there. I know there's beauty there. And that kind of forgiveness of all the beliefs that you had, like, oh, sweetheart, you really tried so hard. It's so beautiful. It's nothing to hold against myself or to poke with a hot poker, get my surgical knife out, cut out, and name it something terrible like narcissism, and persecute it and hate it, as if condemning things actually creates new things. Condemning things creates more condemnation of the thing. You can't condemn things out of existence. I've tried. I still do try. Horrible me. So how did I come to this, right? How did I come to coaching? And Michael, you know I don't like calling it coaching, and I'll tell you why now. I'm going to open the box a little bit on me a little bit more.
Awesome.
This year, something amazing happened. I had a Bob Proctor coach that I worked with while I was studying coaching under Tony. And that kind of opened me up to this whole world of manifestation talk. And I mean, I understood a lot of it, but I'd never thought of it. And I liked Bob. he's kind of like, it seems very boring and very Canadian and very stern, Bob Proctor. But he's actually got so much love in him and so much interest and enthusiasm, and he's just a very inspiring person in many ways. So I was working with her. I ended up working with her and being like a salesperson during her live launches, and I really liked that. And then we were looking at collaborating, and I'd been part of a big Bob Proctor launch, a masterclass with Bob and Mariko and some other great Bob Proctor consultants. And after that, Mariko and I were talking about continuing on, and then we had a meeting, and I realized that it just wasn't aligned, and she knew too, and she's very intuitive. She's like, it's just not aligned, so we let it go. But during that time, something new happened in my coaching practice, which is I trusted more. I let go more into flow and more into trust. And I've developed a kind of a type of NLP, and I don't want to even say I've developed, it's just it comes to me and through me. So the session yesterday, I mean, we went on a journey. I listened, all the complaints, all the problems, all the stuckness. I could feel the energy of it. I could start to see a greater picture of it. I could feel more of it. And then I led him into a meditative state, and we went on a journey. And that journey was very profound, with lots of revelations and realizations that I had no idea would come. And as I'm going along on this journey with the client, I'm realizing, and this seed was planted already in me, but I'm realizing more profoundly how important love is. If you're really looking to change your subconscious programming, I think it's worth your while to consider really spending a lot of time developing more love and more acceptance towards your current subconscious programming. And I don't mean acceptance as like, oh, well, there we are, okay, aces. I don't hate you, I love you now. It's not in the word, it's in the spirit. But what does it mean to really love your subconscious? What does it mean to really love the programs you have in place? What does that really mean? And, for me, it's about creating a space that's really big, right? So that's my metaphor, expanse. It's an expansive place, and it's so safe, and it's filled with abundance. My little guy, my inner child, in this space, he's so happy. He is joyously running around. He's giggling. He's doing cartwheels. I mean, he has absolute safety and abundance and joy. And he's got wisdom and wisdom and wisdom to share with me. So I deliberately create space and spend time and surrounding my subconscious with more love, more love. And it's amazing what the subconscious will reveal. You know, again, I have a whole bunch of study that I do. Michael, you know me as that kind of person. I'm very studious. I like to learn. I like to draw things together. So I even, envision the kind of reptilian brainstem part of my mind just being surrounded in love and totally relaxing and being totally set free and just unfurling. And how the more trust I build with it, the more love I build with it, it reveals like star maps. You know, oh, you want to accomplish this? I understand now. I can build all of that into your neurology. The subconscious mind, like, check this out. This is fucking crazy to think of. This is from Psycho-Cybernetics. If you haven't read the book, go read it. In my opinion, it's awesome. So I've got my AirPod Pro case here. I want to move it to the table. So I moved it to the table, right? So my conscious mind came up with an idea. I want to illustrate a point about the conscious mind and the subconscious. Now, I'm not saying the subconscious is the body, but I'm saying the subconscious is the body, right? Just put it this way. Subconscious is whatever your conscious mind can't really figure out. It has nothing to do with it, right? So I came up with the idea, my conscious mind, to move this over here. Now, even if I was a master of biochemistry, physiology, oxygen delivery, mitochondrial, energy generation, whatever, all that stuff, right? Even if I knew everything just about physiology, bone structure, tendons, ligaments, blood circulation, I couldn't in a million years, my mind could not control the millions and billions of things that are happening right now. I'm talking to you. My eyes are probably dilating and undilating. I'm viewing kind of out of the corner. My inner ear balance is probably at play. I am standing or sitting on a stool that swivels, and I'm maintaining a conversation with you while I put this thing down over here. What about all the ligaments, bones, joints, tendons that had to contract and retract and all that kind of stuff just to put this thing over here? Now that's kind of our subconscious mind at work. Now I'll trust my subconscious mind to put a fucking pair of AirPods off to the side, but what about trusting my subconscious mind to bring more love and abundance into my life in a very specific way? What about realizing that all the rules I have around what I'm allowed to say about the kind of work I do, or who I'm allowed to say it to, were just rules that I have, and they weren't necessary, and that actually I have total liberty and freedom. Now that sounds like a bunch of words, but when I say it, I feel the energy of the word liberty. Like here, this is a kind of interesting thing. And I'd love to do this just quick. Sorry, Michael, you can interrupt me at any time,
Go for it.
Just imagine for a moment, we're not going to do a long meditation. We're just going to do under 3 minutes, okay? So just close your eyes for a minute and just imagine just for a moment that your brain is just kind of, it's filled with sparks. And if you've been listening and enjoying it, you're thinking new thoughts, or you're thinking old thoughts in new ways, or maybe you're thinking I'm an idiot. It doesn't matter to me, but you're having all these thoughts, and there's a lot of activity in your brain, in your neocortex and the logical thinking part of your mind, your conscious mind. Just imagine for a second that as I'm talking, that's just starting to stop firing. And it's just starting to get dimmer. And you can imagine there's a big dimmer switch on your brain, and all the electrical activity of your brain is just getting dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. And all of a sudden, you feel like you're dropping down into the back part of your brain. And you're just kind of dropping down right into the body. And you're just sort of feeling the soles of your feet, the pads of your fingertips on your lap or wherever they are. And you're just sort of feeling your body. And you're feeling the movements in the body. And you're moving from an analytical thinking space into a feeling and a sensing. And you just notice as I'm talking how easy it is to slip into that feeling of sensing, into a deeper alpha state, where the brain is just calming and you're really sensing and feeling and noticing. And just imagine for a moment how easy this is. Imagine how easy it is to extend that sensing and feeling, so all of a sudden you can feel the air around you, in front of your jaw, behind your neck, between your legs, under your arms. And you just become aware of the energy of the air and of the space that surrounds your body. It's interesting how easy it is to feel and sense that space. It's quite natural to do. And as we're feeling that space, imagine that you can feel the space that surrounds that space. Just let your experience.
Oh, Matt, I think you cut out there. Liberty for sure. Have I as well. Matt, can you hear me? You are in the loading screen right now. It is loading. Man, I was deep in that theta state there. Oh, he dropped off. Let me ping him back in here. Oh, I was enjoying that meditation there. Let me bring him back in here. Oh my gosh. Let me ping him back in 1 second here. There you are. It was almost like one of those things where you were like you were sleeping and you were in this dream state. All of a sudden your alarm goes off and you're like woken up in the middle of a dream. That's what it felt like for me. Was anyone else doing that? Did anyone else do the guided meditation that he was doing? What was the experience like for you? What was that experience like? Awesome. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining. Matt just dropped off, but we are pinging him back in here. I wonder maybe if his battery died or something like that. But either way, we're gonna find him. We'll bring him back in here so we can wrap up the interview, and hopefully, I wonder, he's done a guided meditation for us before. I posted it on the YouTube channel. So if you haven't checked that out, check it out. MBE Learning is the YouTube channel. I've got the link in my bio there, so you can tap in. I think it was the first one. And so one of his guided meditations is on there. Absolutely wonderful. I think it's about 15 minutes or so, but just a great meditation. And let me see here. Oh, Vuk, you did it. Awesome. So while I imagined that I had a mental picture of a person and all the colors dropping in the middle of nothing. Oh, interesting. It's amazing how those guided meditations can, bring about some visualizations, and visualization is such a powerful tool for a lot of things, but, specifically manifestation, law of attraction, such a powerful tool. And you can feel the space like glass. Wow, that's interesting, bro. Very, very interesting. Sorry, I said, bro, I'm very, very interesting, Vuk. Thank you so much for that. That's interesting. So clear. Yeah. So interesting. And, I want to bring him back as well, because I wanted to come back to your question there, Vuk. So maybe we'll try one more time. We'll try and ping him back one more time. And let's see what happens here. Matt Corlett, and hope everyone's following Matt as well. He's just absolutely wonderful. He has a lot of great information that he shares both on Facebook and Instagram. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so clear. Like I said, I was really enjoying that guided meditation. It's unfortunate that something that happened there. Maybe it's either the internet connection or maybe his phone died or something like that. But it was like right in the middle of what he's doing, but absolutely wonderful. If you are looking for like a guided meditation, there's his guided meditation, and also I've done a couple of guided meditations on my YouTube channel as well. So definitely check that out. If you go to the link in my bio, it's the first link in the bio there. So check that out. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. Also, hit the notification bell as well, so that you don't miss a video. I've got some videos coming up pretty soon. This live will be posted on there as well. And so yeah, and every other interview that I do as well will be on there. So yeah. Oh, hey, there we go. Matt is back. Let me bring you back up here, Matt. And then awesome. I don't know if it's allowing.
Hey, sorry everyone. I think my Wi-Fi is really weird today, so I just had to turn it off. I don't know where I got cut off or where I dropped out, but I trust that all is well.
Oh, I was explaining that it was almost like, in the middle of like the dream state, and then all of a sudden your alarm goes off, and then you're you're woken. It was like right in the middle of your guided meditation there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was more than 3 minutes, but see, my point is that what I wanted to encourage everyone to just have an experience, right, without having to think about it. It's amazing how often we think, oh, well, I've got to get rid of all these problems and all these guilts and shames and fears and traumas and past things before I'm allowed to change, before I'm allowed to experience something different. And what I'd like to encourage people just to consider as a thought, and just to even plant in the mind as a thought, is you don't have to heal your past trauma in order to experience something beautiful and new in the present. Or you don't have to heal your past trauma in order to deal with the obstacle that you have before you now. But if you realize the resources that you have available to you right now, because you don't have any other time at all except right now, and you start to grow the skills and the talents to be able to call upon them, then you're able to heal your past as you deal with the obstacle that you have now. And it's really quite a wonderful thing. So look how easy it is to tune into your own innate wisdom around, say, the energy of trust. And what kind of thoughts does it inspire? What kind of actions might it inspire if you embodied the energy of trust? It can be a really powerful thing.
Absolutely, bro. And
yeah,
it gets you in the state of allowing things to happen. I got 2 more questions, and then before we wrap up here, but I wanted to come back around to Vuk's question there. He asked about fighting depression. If you can give like one tip or something around that, what would one thing be that you can share with us today?
Okay, well, the first thing I'd like to advise, for example, is sometimes we say, well, I'm so depressed, right? And it's like, okay, when you were taking a crap on the toilet, were you depressed? No. Okay, well, when you were talking on the phone with your friend from high school and that you hadn't talked to them in 13 years and they phoned you out of the blue, did you feel depressed in that moment? No, not really. So I like to try and make things more specific and understanding when the feeling of depression really starts to kick in. And also consider that depression for me, depression for Michael, depression for Donna, for Cindy, for whoever, everyone does it a little bit different. And by does it, I mean, you embody the feeling a little bit different. So I would like to encourage you not to stoke the fires of depression. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is bring your awareness to it. When you're depressed, what happens in your body? Where in your body is it? How does it feel? Can you give it a color? Does it have a taste, a smell, a shape? Like really give it some form and understand when it comes for you, how your body is. Like, are your shoulders hunched over? Are you looking down? Is your face is scrunched up? You're breathing tightly. You're not breathing fully. You notice that you actually only breathe maybe into your neck, and you're looking down and you're hunched up and you're starting to get tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter, and then the anxiety starts to come in, right? And then where's your focus going? What sorts of things are you focused on when you're depressed? Because it's not the entire world. It might be a generalized everything sucks, but actually the everything sucks is so generalized that's just kind of indulging more in the feeling. But if you really feel into it, you'll find where it's really starting to come in. Now, here's an interesting thing, again, just to consider. All states that you're in do serve a purpose. And I'm not saying you're being manipulative and what are you doing? What do you get out of being depressed? But I want to ask you in an open-hearted and loving way, what do you get when you're depressed? Really think about it. I had one client who was totally convinced that they were depressed. And it turned out that they were extremely bored. They really had so much creativity. They hadn't considered the resources that they had in themselves. Once they started to realize the things they really loved and the resources they had in themselves, they started to realize they were really bored. And actually what they needed is more variety, more excitement, more opportunity to express creativity and experience growth. And that they had the ability to do all that. But that didn't happen by saying, you know, I suffer from depression or I am depressed. And here's like maybe more of a hard ass side of it. You are not depressed. You're not depression. You are not your emotions. Your emotions are indicators. Your emotions are guides. Your emotions are signposts. Your emotions, my emotions allow me the most immediate access to something being off track. Often it's because I'm believing thoughts that aren't true, or I'm believing thoughts that are in opposition to a model I have of the world. And the model I have of the world needs some updating. And again, the idea of battling depression, maybe what needs to happen first is just to really understand the wholeness of the depression. When did it first start coming into your life? Do you have other people that modeled that kind of thing for you? And again, how does it serve you? Depression for me gave me the ability to have something so serious that it was I had to opt out of the kind of regular rigmarole of work life, right? And I had to care for myself. So it was a big way that I could actually give myself permission to care for myself, because I had a problem that I don't deserve anything unless I'm perfect. So understanding even that little thing, like, oh my God, this is how I get self-care. And knowing that that need for self-care, for the need for self-love is there, and the need for a feeling of safety or certainty that I would get with depression, that was also there. And that I could even just start thinking of other ways that I could meet that need without even talking about depression at all. Like, again, so I guess my quick thing would be, first of all, make it specific if you can. Start to learn more about it. Take curiosity in it instead of trying to kill it and fuck it away or drink it away or drug it away or whatever. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't take drugs. If people are suicidal, that's different. And you need professional help, right? Because your life is worth protecting, and your life has sanctity. And you worked a long time to come here in this life. So I would encourage you to get help right away. But if you're feeling that kind of depression, and even if it's headed in that way, really to start have more understanding around it, build your understanding around it. And if you can't do it, then just get some help to do it, right? Find somebody that you trust, that you feel comfortable with, that you feel really open with, and that you're allowed to express and understand more about you. Take some real curiosity in you, and just know that depression is calling to you. It's there to serve you with something. I've done some work with people where we do like chair work, like acting, like that kind of a level of imagination, and had massive revelations around feelings of hopelessness and despair.
Yeah, I love that. And, I don't mean to like overly like dumb it down or whatever, but just to summarize, like, it almost sounds like the three steps that I took away from that was awareness, get support, and then take action. And I'm a big advocate for that process, just to make it easier.
Let me break down thank you for making steps out of it. So the thing that I say is, okay, so awareness, right? Awareness for me, I call it the wedge. It's the thing that starts to separate you from what you think you are, right? So when I bring my awareness to something, it's no longer that I am depressed. It's I'm aware that I'm depressed. Well, who's the person that's aware? Who is that being? And when you bring your awareness to something, you bring your curiosity, you bring your interest, you bring your heartbreak, you bring everything to it in a transparency, and you legitimately look to understand. It's like, imagine a conversation, right? Listening to understand versus listening to be understood. You know, like you and I have a conversation, I'm interrupting you every 3 seconds. Usually that I'm not listening to anything you're saying. I just feel that I'm dramatically I'm misunderstood, and Michael must understand me, and he can't misrepresent me, because then I won't achieve my good boy marks, and then I'm just going to be fucked for days, right? I used to kind of be like that. So internalizing that, bringing your awareness to yourself, really bringing your awareness to it. Pick up a pen and write a question down. Ask depression, hey depression, I never thought of this before, but apparently you serve me. Can you tell me all the ways that you serve me? I'd like to know. And if you don't get an answer right away, don't worry about it. Once you pose that open-hearted, legitimate question to yourself, an answer will come. And that could be a start of understanding something new.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Love it. Love it. Cool. Well, hey, I got one more question, and I like to ask all my guests before we leave. But if you had access to a billboard and you could put it anywhere in the world, what would you put on that billboard, and where would you put it?
Holy crap. Okay. Billboard. A billboard. For right now, I'm seeing a big billboard that's green, and it's got the white letters on it in lowercase, and it says sweetness. And I see it. Where in the world would that be? I see it right in the middle of a busy city. For some reason, I see it high up on a skyscraper pointing down to a busy city, so that anybody that takes a moment or takes a pause or looks up and sees that word can feel it'd be so massive that energy would just be pouring out of it, and they would just have a moment where they would feel sweetness.
That's awesome. As you were saying that, I could totally picture that. Every single word that you were saying, I pictured it. That's so cool, bro. Well, hey, thanks again. I appreciate you making the I always appreciate you. Is there anything going on? Like, what would you like to tell people about?
Well, I guess the thing that's going on with me is, so for like just over about maybe a year and a half, since I've been taking clients, and I didn't do a website. I've just been doing all word of mouth and referral, or people hear me speak and then they reach out. And this year I'm going to launch officially. So I'm getting my website done, and I'm getting some guidance and some assistance with things too, which is fun. I'm feeling really positive about it. I feel, this is part of the journey, right? Is to overcome, suspicion of yourself, or insecurity might be another word for that, right? Or just fear that you might not be accepted. But I feel really tuned in to my higher purpose. And I know that I'm here to serve in this manner, to help people connect with a deeper sense of their inner being, so that they can get a feeling of beauty, of grace, of emotional, I don't want to use the word mastery, but emotional understanding. And they are feeling more empowered as deliberate creators. That's what I'm here to do. And I love how the work's flowing through me. So I'm excited about that. And just if any of your listeners are listening and you've liked our conversation and you're like, well, I wouldn't mind, connecting and, kind of discussing a couple of things. I do free clarity calls, right? So your first call is free, and you just book with me, and we'll go through a session. I'll just listen. And if I serve you in that one, I do. And if I don't, I don't. And if I think I can powerfully serve you moving forward, I'll let you know. So book a call. Be awesome to connect.
Awesome. Sounds good. And what's the best way? Is there a link in your bio? Should they slide into your DMs?
Yeah, I'll double check my Instagram bio. Sorry, for the past 3 weeks, I haven't been busy on social at all. But I'll make sure the link in my bio is there for my Calendly link to book a call.
Cool. Awesome. Well, hey, and if you aren't already following Matt, make sure you're following him at Matt Corlett on Instagram. Click his bio so you can book a call. If it's not there, then slide into his DMs, set up some time with him. He does that free clarity call, so check him out. Have a conversation with him. If you aren't already following me, hey, follow me too at MBE Learning 1 on Instagram, and check me out on YouTube, MBE Learning. Subscribe and hit the notification bell. That's where this will be posted as well on YouTube, and I've got a variety of videos on the YouTube channel as well. So make sure to subscribe to that. Other than that, I think that's everything. So thank you again, brother. I really appreciate you. Always appreciate our conversations. Again, Matt is just a wonderful spiritual human being, and just a really close friend and mentor of mine. So again, I thank you very, very much, Matt.
Thank you, Michael. I'm so honored to be here as always, and I'm so happy to be supportive in any way I can of your beautiful work.
Awesome. Well, thank you. You're too kind. I think this was a great episode number 12, a great way to end the year.
Awesome.
I had no idea. Like, I started doing podcasts earlier this year because it was one of those things where it's just like, got to jump up and just go ahead and do it. And man, I made it to the end of the year. So cheers to many.
That is awesome. I love it.
Cool. Well, thanks again. Appreciate you all for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And remember, if you can learn anything, you can do anything. All right. Take care.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.